A tourist, thinking his money gave him the right to do anything, threw a stone at the royal guard. But the guard's reaction shocked everyone around. What happened next changed the entire atmosphere in the square. But let's start from the beginning. London. A day like any other. Well, it should have been, if not for one little thing, the central square in front of Buckingham Palace where everything breathes history, and right in front of you stands the living embodiment of that history. The Royal Guard. Unyielding, like a statue, motionless as a stone, in their red uniforms with the big black bearskin hat. No matter where you look, you'll always spot that perfect silhouette, as though carved from marble. But, unfortunately, nothing lasts forever, not even respect. And here they come, the tourists. Yep, the very same culture enthusiasts who think their money and their right to be here gives them permission to do anything. What could possibly be funny about teasing a man who's simply standing on duty? Oh, you'd be surprised. The guard stands, eyes fixed, unblinking. It's as though he's merged with the fountain behind him, making no attempt to draw attention to himself. Everything around him is a flurry of movement, joy, jokes, and shouting. But he remains unmoved. He's not here to entertain. A woman in a bright t-shirt that says "I London" decides he really ought to smile for her. She approaches him, waves her hand in some ridiculous gesture, and then, laughing, shouts, "Hey, smile, dude!" And you know what? The guard doesn't flinch. He doesn't break protocol, doesn't make a sarcastic comment. He just stands there, silent, his eyes not even shifting. He is the epitome of restraint. And here's where the real problem begins. "Don't move, we're gonna touch your hat," tone. The voice of a man with a camera, his companion grinning at the prospect of reaching for the guard's bearskin hat. Seriously? This is beyond the pale. I get that they're here for fun, but not even trying to understand that in front of them is a person, not a mannequin. That's a level of ignorance I can't even comprehend. How is it funny to walk up and touch the hat of someone who stood in that very spot for decades and will continue standing there for decades more without reacting to their idiocy? Who does that? This is just beyond the line. There it is, the tourist with the camera, as if it's his personal playground. What do you even do with someone like this when they think the world owes them a performance just because they're paying customers? In their world, paying money means you get to do whatever you want. And the Royal Guard? Just part of the set decoration. They exist to entertain. The crowd keeps growing. More phones come out, more laughter, more comments. That awful, disrespectful laughter, that sarcasm hanging in the air, creates this weird, nervous tension. The guard? Still, motionless, as perfect as a machine, impervious to it all. He doesn't care. And then, as if on cue, one tourist decides to take it a step further. That gleam in his eye is the same one you'd expect from a school bully who's been allowed to make fun of the weak for too long. He bends down, grabs a handful of coins, and throws them at the guard's feet, like he's some kind of freak, deserving of spare change. Yeah, you heard that right. This idiot is standing in front of a real person, and instead of showing respect, he throws money at him, just to see how much the guard will take. Like he's at some sort of carnival. What is happening? Seriously, how can you be so shameless? But what happens next? The guard stays silent, his gaze, as always, fixed on a single point, not even acknowledging the coins. His poise, perfect. His restraint, legendary. He's the living definition of dignity. Meanwhile, the crowd continues, laughing, filming, commenting. The air is thick with the feeling that in this world, it's only worth something if you can prove it in front of others. But this guy, this royal guard, he's just standing there, enduring all of it. And the tourists? They're still under the impression that they are the ones who matter here, all because they paid money. Seriously? We all know the royal guard isn't here for entertainment. But these tourists? Well, apparently, they don't get that dot. By now, you'd think the tourists would have taken the hint. But no, they keep pushing. After all, they're entitled, right? They've paid for their flights, their hotels, their tickets, and they expect a show. The Royal Guard? Just part of the scenery for their amusement. The same guy from earlier is back, this time with a brilliant idea. He steps up closer to the guard, finger pointed, and prods his chest. "Yo, what's the matter? You scared of me? He taunts, as if he's somehow got the upper hand, but no reaction from the guard, not even a flicker of acknowledgement. The man pokes again, grinning. Come on, smile, we won't bite. Is this guy serious? He thinks taunting a military veteran who's standing there because he's sworn an oath is some funny act. His sheer arrogance is jaw-dropping, and yet the crowd loves it. Some are laughing, filming, thinking it's all part of the fun. But here's the problem. It's harassment, not entertainment, and it's clear no one seems to mind. And then it happens. The tourist, with the same smug expression, decides to cross the line. He grabs the guard's bearskin hat, pulling on it like it's a cheap souvenir. What's the matter? Can't even move? I'm a tourist, don't you know? He smirks, tugging harder. Oh, great. Here it is. That line. The one that screams, I paid for this, so I own it. Newsflash, you don't. The guard, completely still, not moving an inch, as if this nonsense isn't even worth responding to. But the crowd, they're still laughing, still cheering this guy on like it's some kind of spectacle. But here's the twist. Without flinching, the guard calmly places his hand on the hat and, in one smooth motion, pulls it back. That's it. No grand gestures, no angry words, just silent control. The tourist stumbles back, blinking in confusion. For a second, it seems like he finally realizes he's made a mistake. But does he apologize? Of course not. He just stands there looking more annoyed than ever. Then the crowd, the same one that was egging him on, starts to turn. Whispers ripple through the air. What an idiot. How could he disrespect him like that? The momentum shifts, and suddenly it's his dignity on the line. The tourist's little performance? It's not cute anymore, it's pathetic. And it's becoming clear, the only joke here is on them dot. And then something extraordinary happens. It's as if the universe decides it's had enough of this circus. The tourist, still puffed up with pride, thinking he's won some kind of victory, stumbles backward and his foot hits a patch of uneven pavement. Splat. He goes down in a heap, arms flailing, face first into the stone ground. You'd think he'd have the common sense to at least try and make it look like he wasn't embarrassed, but no. He just lies there for a second, in complete disbelief, like the universe just delivered him a cosmic slap in the face. And honestly, it's hard not to chuckle. But here's the kicker. As he's pulling himself up, shaking his head and trying to look cool, the crowd, they're not laughing at the guard anymore. No, now they're looking at him like he's the joke. There's a subtle shift in the air. The group of onlookers, who just moments ago were cheering this guy on like he was a clown at a children's party, now begin murmuring, casting sideways glances at the fallen tourist. You can hear it now. What a jerk. Seriously, who does that to someone in uniform? Ouch. No one's even taking out their phones to film this time. The applause that was once so loud, gone. The atmosphere is thick with the kind of tension that makes you uncomfortable for the guy. Not one to shy away from humiliating moments, this poor tourist is now the spectacle. His face is a mix of frustration and that oh-so-familiar realization that he's made a complete fool of himself. And just when it seems like he's about to make some sort of recovery, the unthinkable happens. The crowd, that same group of amused tourists who were once egging him on, turns, not in sympathy, but in disapproval. You can practically hear the collective shift in moral direction. Everyone who witnessed the incident now has a change of heart. Some are shaking their heads, others are muttering something about respect. The same people who once thought pulling a hat off a soldier was hilarious are now seeing it for what it really was. Petty, disrespectful, and just sad. Now, this is the moment where the guard steps in, not with grand gestures or a triumphant return to his post, but with a quiet, silent victory. He adjusts his hat with the calm dignity that only a man of discipline can maintain. The kind of dignity that comes from decades of training and service, where a simple motion, like straightening his posture, speaks volumes about who he is. Not a single word, not a single glance at the fallen tourist. Just a reminder that true strength doesn't need to announce itself. It simply is. As the crowd's attention shifts away from the embarrassing tourist to the stoic, unflinching figure of the guard, something remarkable happens. They begin to rally around him. A few mutter words of encouragement. Others even nod in quiet respect. The tourist, meanwhile, is still attempting to get to his feet, muttering things like, This wasn't supposed to happen, and I'm just having fun. But the damage is done. In this moment, it's not the guard who's left humiliated. The real embarrassment belongs to the one who thought he could control the situation, the one who thought the traditions and dignity of the royal guard were mere props for his entertainment. And you have to ask, was it worth it? Was this man's little power play worth the public shaming, the derision from everyone around him, and the respect he lost in a matter of minutes? As the crowd finally disperses, you can see a few lingering glances cast in his direction, most with the same thought. What a fool. Meanwhile, the royal guard stands tall, motionless as ever, a quiet hero in the eyes of those who still believe in respect. Because sometimes, the greatest response is simply to do nothing at all, to rise above the madness with grace, leaving the fools to their own consequences. And just like that, the day returns to normal. The tourists shuffle off, disappointed, probably thinking they've seen it all, while the guard, as usual, remains a symbol of what true honor looks like: quiet, unyielding, untouched. So let's get this straight. No, the tourists didn't win. The guard didn't break. And in the end, the lesson here? Respect is earned, not demanded. And some things, like dignity and tradition, should never be made into a joke. Now, who's ready for some real entertainment?